Good morning or good afternoon, or wherever you're watching us from. You are watching the Poetry of Healing with Dr. Van. Now, I know I'm not Dr. Van. I am Ellis Dean, the Director of Digital Programming and Production at blackdoctor.org. But today is a special day, and so I am coming on to guest host with Dr. Paulina. Today is our 1 year anniversary of this program. And so 1 year ago, I interviewed Dr. Paulina about her book, The Poetry of Healing. And that started this whole relationship. So we did the first interview, and then we just kept going with show after show, wonderful show after show of really talking about meditation, living it, really helping people center themselves and live their best life. And she has done a fantastic job hosting here. And so I said, okay, so we decided we're going to come together on the 1 year anniversary and kind of do a recap of everything that has transpired over the last year. So I'm just really excited to be here to share with you and to be on screen, because for a great many of those shows, I was behind the scenes producing the shows. And so I've seen so many of them, and I've seen your reaction. And so I'm really just excited to be here and be a part of this. So I know you didn't come on to see me because the show is called The Poetry of Healing with Dr. Paulina. So I will say a couple of things before we bring on Dr. Paulina, and that is, let us know where you're watching from. So drop that in the comment section. We'd like to know where people are watching us from all over the country, all over the world, really. So let us know. So put that in the comment section. Also, if you know somebody that's needs this information or really could share it and learn from Dr. Paulina in terms of poetry of healing, please tag them and share this on your page to let people know that we are here and that she is here. And then finally, if you have any questions about what we talk about today, drop those questions in the comments. Okay, Janice, I see you from DC. Shout out to Janice. And so that's it. So I'm going to bring on the woman of the hour, also known as Dr. Paulina.
Okay, here I am. Hi, Ellis.
How are you? 1 year, happy anniversary. How about that? Let's start.
Well, I am in awe. I can't believe that it was 1 year ago that we were here, and I was embarking upon the journey. I had no idea where it was going to go, but I thank God where it has gone. Yeah. So you're the host. How are you gonna guide me today?
So I guess the first question is, what have you learned about yourself by doing this program for the past year?
Yeah. So for those viewers not familiar with the show, it's really based on my book, The Poet Regala Healing, which are 100 poems, which really are a reflection of my life and my healing. And so these poems came to my awareness when I started loving myself more and being more vulnerable. So I didn't sit down to write them. So I'm learning as I prepare each show. I'm learning about myself. And you remember, Alice, it used to take me 32 hours to prepare for one show. I am serious. And now I'm down to 8. Okay. I have just learned that it is so important to open your heart and be open and authentic. And although it's scary, there's such a peace and a weight taken off, at least my shoulders, when I do that. And so I've seen that in the viewers. As you said, the show has viewers from all over the world, of course, throughout the United States, but Spain and Africa and India and Dubai. And sometimes I have to use the translator because I get comments, in other languages, but it works. I love Google Translate. And so I really feel that, the viewers say I help them, but they have really helped me with their comments, with their encouragement, with their support. There are watch parties. I cannot believe there are watch parties that watch the show. I'll just mention Brenda and her sisters. And they hold me accountable because I don't know if you remember one time StreamYard went down And so the program didn't run as it was. And I was getting private messages and text messages from people who knew me. Said, "Where is the show?" So
Yeah.
that is really, and it's really encouraged me and inspired me to continue to do this work. And I'm on my 4th book.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I think when we first started, you were on your you were finishing your 2nd one.
Yes,
And so
yeah.
now you already got that one out the off the got the 3rd
Yeah.
one, and now you're working on the 4th one.
Well,
That is fantastic.
the 4th one's almost done. And so I'm gonna be on to my 5th one. But the 1st edition has been picked up by a publisher. And so
Mhm. Right.
I'm in the process of editing, reviewing the edits. The poems won't be edited, but the beginning and the end
Right.
narratives will be edited. Yeah.
So, there was a couple of things you mentioned in answering that question.
Mhm.
You said journey, and specifically you said vulnerability. And we know that in our community,
Mhm.
uh, there is a reluctance to be vulnerable.
Mhm.
And particularly in men, but I'm going to say in a general sense,
Mhm.
there is, because we know, through historical, you know reasons, that vulnerability can lead you being taken advantage of, being used. And even just in our general lives, we've had friends that we've opened up to. Everybody's had those hearts and those heartaches.
Mhm.
um, how has this journey, in terms of you being vulnerable, helped you in your relationships and your connecting with other people?
Wow, that's a fantastic question. Okay. So, like, if you live and breathe, you're gonna get hurt. So that's the first thing
Right.
that I feel that's important that I learned and then I'd like to share with the viewers. And so, but you have to ask yourself, what's the worst thing that's gonna happen if someone
Mhm.
says something crazy to me, or if I make a mistake, or what is the worst thing that can happen?
Mhm.
And when you put it in that perspective, then for me, it opens me up to have more courage. Now, I'm
Mm.
not going to say that being vulnerable hasn't hurt me,
Mm.
but it hasn't destroyed me.
Right.
It's made me stronger. And so that's what keeps me going. And there's a peace. I mentioned this before. There's kind of like a peace that happens because you're not hiding. Oh, I did a program on secrets earlier. Ooh, anyway, that was interesting. A lot of secrets came out after I did that show. Okay, so anyway, but there's the courage. There's you're not carrying something on your way. You're not hiding,
Mhm.
just being your true self. And if someone cannot love you or accept you for who you are, like I said, bye bye, because you gotta live. You gotta live the way you want to live, as long as you're not hurting anybody. But you
Right.
gotta be true to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, courage. It's a big word, right? And not in terms of size, but in terms of what it means, right? And then you pair that with the courage to be authentically you. So
Hmm.
when we use that phrase, now that has a lot of meaning. That holds a lot of weight. And sometimes people don't have that courage. They don't have that courage to be their authentic self, either out of fear
Hmm.
or out of really not having a generalized self-awareness. And so when you incorporate some of your meditative practices that you have done as part of this program,
Hmm.
uh, how do you think that helps people in a general sense develop that courage to be their authentic self and to really kind of lean in and and go within to find that self-awareness and that ability to say, I'm okay with being me?
I really miss you, Ellis, because these talks, I mean, this another wonderful question. And so meditation is all about quieting the mind, quieting the self, the soul, the spirit. And when you do that, you allow yourself to look within, you see,
Mhm.
and when you look within, you realize all that you need is within you, right?
Right.
And all that you need or all that you are is good. Okay. You are not your behavior. Okay.
Right.
So we all make mistakes. But when we truly sit with ourselves and look within and try to, I call them regenerative emotions. When you look within and then put in there things you're grateful for, things that made you smile, things that, brought you a lot of happiness, people, places, you begin to see that you're more than what people say you are. You're
Right.
more than your life experiences. You are wonderfully made in his likeness. And whoever his is for you or her is the earth, the wind, God. That's what it's all about. And that's why every show I begin with a quiet time. We didn't begin this one with quiet time. We're going to end,
I keep it loud.
but so that the quiet time is to prepare everyone to open their heart and hear whatever message that the topic has for them today or the poem has for them today.
Well, one of my favorite parts of every show is when you would do that heart focused breathing, right? And
Mhm,
it's part of that early quiet time meditation that she would do at the beginning of the show.
mhm,
And really, I saw it as a resetting of the soul, right? So
mhm,
we're going to reset the spirit and get you in the right mindset. So you can do that as part of this program, which
mhm,
is weekly.
mhm.
That's something that really we're encouraging you, and Dr. Van is encouraging you to do every day, right? If
Yeah.
you can get up each morning and take, whether it's 5 minutes, you can start with 5 minutes and
Mhm,
then up it to 10, 15. Really try to get that 30 minutes might be an ideal time, but you can work your way up to that.
mhm,
But start with 5 minutes of reset each morning
mhm.
and then see how your day goes, right? And then just watch how your day goes because you've had a time to calm that spirit. And there's a medical reason for that too, right? Because we
Yeah.
talk about cortisol levels. If we wake up in the morning, we got anxiety, right?
Mhm, mhm,
And then
mhm,
that cortisol level goes up as we're going through our workday. But if you get up in the morning and you reset that soul, now
mhm.
you're able to approach the day, and I promise you, your anxiety levels, that cortisol level would not go up, and then we won't be gaining weight and getting all that little fluffiness around the midsection that we don't want to get. Um,
Mhm.
Inflammation, cortisol can impact our bodies in such a bad way. Uh, and see, Deborah, nice job, Deborah. She practiced that quiet time daily. This has been the best medicine for her healing. So, absolutely, Deborah, I absolutely agree with you.
Mhm.
So, how do I'm going to ask the simplest question, but it's the hardest one to really execute. How does somebody get started in meditating on their own?
Mhm. Mhm. And so I did a show on the myths and miracles of meditation very early on, and so I asked the viewers to check that one out. But you start small. You start maybe a minute, and you think, well, how is a minute going to help me? That's one more minute than you were doing, right? And so, right, so you just quiet, either in the shower or the tub, or you have to go somewhere in your car, and just start with a minute. Put the alarm on your phone or the microwave or the stove. Just 1 minute, and you can either just focus on your breathing,
Mhm.
just the sensation of air going in and out of your body. You can put some calm music on and just listen to every single word, every single beat. You can find a mantra or a phrase that I love you. I love you, Paulina. I look in the mirror.
Mhm.
I love you. So there, I say you start small, and you don't have to sit with your legs crossed and your fingers like this. No, you sit, you can stand, you can lay down. And I wanted to go back to the heart math breathing. Maybe we'll may try to end like that for viewers who are not familiar with it. But you can do that with your eyes open and nobody even knowing, and it'll calm you down.
Right.
You're in the office or you talking to a partner or the children, and you just want to scream, but instead of screaming, you do that heart breath,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll calm you down. Yeah, yeah.
It's fantastic. So let's we're going to backtrack just a little bit. And if you're
Uh-huh.
just joining us, we are talking to Dr. Paulina Van on her show, but we are celebrating a 1 year anniversary. And so I, as her former producer, uh, you know, coming back here to celebrate, to celebrate that time, because doing anything for a year, committing to something like this for a year is an accomplishment, right? It's a celebration. And so yes, she casually mentioned that she's, finishing her fourth book. There's many of us that haven't even finished their first one. So we definitely have to recognize the accomplishments. So remind people how you got to this point, because I know you mentioned that the poem sprung out of you,
Mm-hmm.
but there was a process. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't just one day you were walking along and the next day these poems came out.
Mm-hmm.
What was that process like for you? And
Mm-hmm.
kind of detail that journey to get you to the point where now we're on book 4.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to roll back to 2014. Some of you have already heard this story. My brother was in a coma for 6 days, and he was in the intensive care unit. And so one Sunday after church, I visited him every day. And this was a Sunday. I came around the corner and looked in his room. I expected him to be still in the coma. He was sitting up, and I said, "Welcome back." And he said, "What are you talking about? Where have I been?" I said, "You've been in a coma for 6 days." And he said, "No, I haven't." And I said, "Well, what is the year?" And he said, 2004. It was actually 2014. So he had missed 10 years. But he said to me something that shook my world. And he said, "Are you working the same way you've been working? Because if you have, you've become your job." And that shook me because I am a workaholic. I love my work.
Mm-hmm.
And there were family visiting, and they had mates and babies that I didn't know because I didn't go to the baby showers or the wedding showers or maybe even some of the weddings because I was working. And so that day or shortly after, I decided I was going to change the way because that I navigated the world, because people were more important to me. Relationships were more important to me. And if my brother, who'd been in a coma for 6 days, and that's the first thing he says to me when he wakes up, that was a message to me. So I started learning about meditation and mindfulness, taking courses, starting to practice very slowly. And since then, I've earned a lot of other certifications in reflective practices to manage stress. I brought it to my students in the classroom, brought it to my students online. This journey this year with the book, and the book opens doors. I've been I've spoken at 3 major medical centers
Mm.
to nurses dealing with the stress, fatigue, and trauma of the pandemic. I've, of course, presented at conferences at this work. I'm doing this wonderful show. I've been invited to Christmas parties to read. I mean,
Right.
it's been an amazing journey. And one thing I want to say, well, there's a lot I want to say, but I want to share the impact. So not only am I being invited to share this poetry live or virtually, but it's being used in hospitals during huddles when the nurses or physicians are huddling about patients. They're being used before management meetings. They're being used by individuals for meditation. So it's incredible. I want to show you. I want to share this photo. Let's see if yes. Um,
Oh, wow.
children children are reading the book, and I have permission of the grandparents and the parents to share these pictures of the children. And so the one on the right, um, she's about 7, I believe, and she reads my book. You know, her grandma would read her bedtime stories, but she now reads my book before she goes to sleep. This little 2-year-old, he mimics his grandmother who reads the book, and when she puts it down, she says she leaves the room, and then he looks at my picture. I mean, he doesn't talk, but he just, you know, baby talk to my picture, and then he opens my book and begins to, read my book. So it's these words that have come to me through self-love, loving myself more and being more open and vulnerable, touching lives. Widows and widowers have
Mhm.
written to me to say it's helped them grieve. People who didn't even like poetry. I have, I want to read this. I picked it up off my website, and she said, Dr. Paulina Van and the poems in her book. Oh, I'm sorry. That was the widow that sent to me. But this person said, I am not one who finds myself drawn to poetry, but Dr. Van's book was hypnotic and engaging.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And so uh, this is what the work is doing. And some of you already know this because I've shared it widely, that before these poems came to my awareness, I didn't read poetry, I didn't like poetry, and I didn't have any poetry books. So you know that this is truly something, a gift that I've been given.
Absolutely. And I think all of us, if we're being honest with ourselves, can relate to that.
Mhm.
Um, so I want to kind of express for the people that are watching us that you really have to stretch yourself, a little bit and get outside that comfort zone to
Mm.
find that next level of you, right? Because when we're pushing ourselves, we're wired for some reason to be resistant to change, right? Because trying to push boundaries and break new ground require, there's some fear associated with that, right? And think about even in this country when uh, with Lewis and Clark, right? They were venturing out. They didn't know how far west they could go or where they were going to go. They just went. They just ventured out and saw what they could see. And so sometimes we have to have that same type of mentality where we're going to venture out and we're going to get in some spaces that are going to be uncomfortable for us. But if we can go through it, the other side is what you're seeing here today. And is that a whole new world has opened up to Dr. Van as a result of that Kickstarter by her brother. It turns to that statement. And then being able and being aware enough. So I'm going to applaud you for being aware enough to when the poems came to you, you stopped, let the moment happen, and wrote them down.
Oh, yeah.
And many of us have those moments where we get that gut feeling, oh, I need to do it. And then if we don't stop, right? And that's what meditation teaches us
Yes.
is to be in the moment. And
Mhm.
you leaned into that moment, and by you doing that, you got that first 100 poems that led to children now reading your book.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It truly has been. Um, guest host, may I go to the behind the scenes, a couple
Yes,
behind
yes.
the scenes? Okay, so um, yeah, because I'm being transparent. Okay, I gotta walk my talk, right?
Ooh,
So
should I be nervous?
no, no, you don't have to be nervous about this. So um, before I do the show, I make sure that I'm drama free. Okay. So I play relaxing music, and the show is Sunday morning. So you know what happens. It's Saturday night before. So the children may have gotten into it with their partners, or there's some kind of drama. I said,
Mhm.
I don't want to hear anything about that before my show. My husband, he'll come to me, the children, or I don't want to talk politics, that nothing. I
Right.
want to come with this essence of calmness. So that's one of the things. And when you and I did the show, and then when I do it alone, we have quiet time. So
Mhm.
it may just be quiet time, or we say a little prayer. I stand during the entire show. I don't know if viewers
I
realize
did
that.
not know that. I did not know.
Yeah, I stand during the show because um, that's the way I speak in person, and so it's just a comfort. I feel that I can connect better if I'm standing. But I want to talk about a couple things that happen behind the scenes that folks don't know. So the very first show that I did alone, which would have been November 21st, 2022. Remember, we signed on, and I just thought we had done this on the 11th. So I just thought my shows, you would always be there on camera. So we signed on, and Ellis is in a cap and a t-shirt, and I thought,
I'm like,
what is
I'm not going to be on camera. I'm good.
and so I said, Ellis, you kind of dress casual. And he said, okay, so this is like a minute before we're supposed to go live. And I said, okay, so you're going to be on camera with me, right? And he said, nope, showtime. And he pressed live. And I just, I was prepared to talk about gratitude. So I just did it. And so I went, and then there was another show. We had a guest, Erica, talking about overcaring in May. And
Mhm.
remember, we couldn't get the audio. We couldn't
Yes.
get audio. And so Ellis says, we got to start. So he pushed me on, and I did my intro. And then I just went with it. I said, okay,
Oh,
our
yeah.
guest is Erica, and she appeared. And I mean, I just took I took a big heart breath
You did.
that
You
time.
did.
Yes. And
That was
then
a leap of faith. That one right there was a leap of faith, because like Eric and I were scrambling behind the scenes. So you're going to you're listening. I have one ear on the show, and I've got one ear on Erica because she's trying to go through all of the technical difficulties. And I'm trying to help her while I watch you. And then I hear you start teeing her up. And I was like, I said, this is going to be really embarrassing if we don't get Erica on the screen. Because you were like, and my guest, you start going. I was like, I hear, and then it was a miracle. I mean, it's the only way to describe it. It was a miracle because I don't know what happened.
it was truly, and miracles are happening behind the scenes and during the show. And then the last one, now I can smile and laugh about this one, but it was the Mother's Day show. Okay. And I had my daughter and her friend on. It was very special. Well, every show is special. But I was late that morning. I was running late. So instead of signing, backstage 15 minutes ahead of time, I was like 7 minutes, or maybe even, you remember, I was late. And so I turned the camera on, and all I can see is my face, no body. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, my camera is broken. Wow. I had a green sweater on, and and the green background.
And the green screen, yeah.
And the green screen. So all you could see was my head. And I thought, oh my. So I realized it after 2 minutes. So 3 minutes left. I went and did a quick change. I just grabbed something out of the closet, put it on, and so these are some of the things that happen that, before we come on camera. But when I get there, I gotta be calm. And so, yeah, I just thought I'd share that.
No, and that's happened. I haven't been on screen
Uh-huh.
with that before, and somebody said I should do it for like Halloween, do a Halloween show, and just have the green shirt on. It just looks like a head that's floating. I don't know, we don't normally do Halloween like that, so, but
It,
nah, it does look very, very strange because you
yes.
forget with that green screen that anything green gets is gone, right? And so you just see arms and a head. It's unnerving a little bit when it
Yeah.
first happens. You go, oh my goodness, it's not cool. So,
Well,
yeah.
I thought it was my camera. See, that's what I thought it was my camera. And then I looked down and but anyway, viewers, that's some of the things that we can laugh about now, but when it's happening, it can be very, very stressful. Yeah.
We've also had some fantastic guests
Yes.
over the year. We had some fantastic guests. What was the one where we had the two men,
Oh yes.
the heart doctor, and then the
And Jamal.
and
It was
Jamal? Yeah, that was a fantastic show.
Men in Meditation.
Yes.
That was really, and this is another miracle that happens when I have guests. People who are normally not so vulnerable and transparent, when they get on this show, everything, and I have to keep a straight face. I thought, I didn't know that, and I've known you a long time, or we talked, and I asked them, I said, what led you to be so open? And they said that I create an atmosphere where they
Mhm.
feel safe, and they forget that they're live streaming
You know,
hundreds of thousands of people. I'll tell you the other show, and all my guests have been fantastic. But the other one that surprised me, remember I had my pastor, Bishop Clark, on for
yeah, that was one of your. I think it was your first guest. Your first
yes,
one there, yeah.
it was my first, and I'm going to have him again as my first guest for as we start the second year. But he talked about love as a choice, and
Yes.
that's a very popular show. There are times when I just and you told me, you said follow what you think the viewers will benefit from. And so I've been wanting to do secrets for a very long time. And then I didn't have the courage. I didn't know how it was going to land. And then last week I just said, it's time to do it. And it was really incredible. Like I said earlier in the show, people started telling me a lot of secrets, and my husband was the first one. We're still married, so it's not a bad secret.
Yeah. Okay. As long as it's not a marriage ending secret. That's
No, it wasn't. Yeah.
no. I think because one and following that line, secrets can be a burden, right? They're a burden on your psyche. They're a burden on your spirit. They're a burden on your soul, because you have to spend energy to protect them. And when we're spending energy to protect the secret, that energy cannot be used on other things, exploration of ourselves, working on those other projects, because we've got this mental energy and we're afraid of this secret getting out. But when you do share it and you release that secret, now you're freeing up, not only you're freeing yourself of the burden of that secret and protecting it, you're freeing up that mental energy to be able to be utilized towards other projects and other things. And so really that program about secrets, and maybe that's why, a lot of people started sharing their secrets with you, because they're recognizing, if I unburden myself, if I unlock this one of these things, that shackles that's holding me back, how much better would my life be? How much more authentic? We said that word a couple of times this program. How much more authentic would I be, and in turn would my life be, if I could let go of just one of these secrets that I might be on?
And I'm glad you talked about the mental component, because that's how secrets hurt you. That's how secrets make you sick, because you think about them. It's not only hiding them, it's you're thinking about them and thinking about them. And it just, like you said, it drains you. It uses up a lot of your valuable emotional, psychological, physical energy as well. But I ended the show saying, if big if you plan to reveal your secret, I suggest that you get support and guidance from a professional.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how that secret's going to land, either by you telling it or the other people that are involved.
Yeah, you got to be careful because they could have a ripple effect, right? And we talked about that when I appeared on your show as a guest before, when we talked about how I gave you my theory about where the rock hit the water when we're talking about mental health, right? And so we talked about like, and for those that are just watching it, what it means is when I was working as a counselor, I would always talk to my clients as trying to find out where the rock hit the water. And what I mean by that is you have a precipitating event that is a life-changing type of event in your life. That's where the rock, but there's ripples that come out from it. You throw a rock in a lake, you're going to see ripples. And sometimes when we're dealing with anxiety and depression and all of these other things that are impacting our lives, those are ripples. So the closer we can get to where that rock hit the water, the better of a chance that we would have in terms of overcoming the rippling effect and having them live a more rich and fulfilled life. And so people can always had an easier time recognizing that metaphor because if you've been anywhere near water, if you throw something in it, there's going to be ripples that come out from there. So when we're talking about that meditation piece of it, you're really calming the waters, so to speak, right? Each time. And then if you can let go of that secret, that secret might be on that rock, right? And then when we get to that point, the rippling really does calm itself down, and you can have a better and more self-fulfilled life.
Yes, absolutely. Another show that we did that we share this, I guess, compulsion is perfectionism.
Oh yeah.
And that was really a good one and resonated with folks, and where that perfectionism comes from.
Well, I think some of it is individual, but some of it is cultural, right? Because we've recognized that that's part of our matriculation in this country, that only the perfect Black person was seen and heard and had some success, right? So you say, oh, wow, and we feel that sometimes in our own lives when we're dealing with mainstream America. It's like, I've got to be perfect. I've got to, speak the King's English perfectly. I've got to be a model citizen. I got to do this, and that in order to be accepted in American culture. And so that perfectionism is pervasive in our community, and we've got to do the work to get beyond it. But I do recognize it because I recognize those traits in my own life in terms of trying to make everything perfect, and perfection is the enemy of the good, right? And so you cannot weigh ourselves down by trying to be perfect, because we won't take those chances. And it's when we take those chances, like writing a book, like venturing off and into a new space, those are when really, we can explode, and our careers and our lives can change for the better. But we've got to take those chances and let go of being perfect.
I'm so glad you talked about taking chances, because when we changed the management or the process of this programming, I had to learn a number of new skills, Ellis, and I kept saying, oh no, I don't think I can do this. And you continued to encourage me, and you said, yes, you can. And it reminded me of the first show when you pressed the button and said, we're going live and you're it. And I just want to thank you for that, because talking about fear, meditation was not helping that fear I had with directing and learning how to direct and produce the show. But you gave me a little bit at a time. And I just tried it, and I believe it's working. And when it doesn't, I just say to the viewers, listen,
I think to respect that, for one, you put in the work, and I knew what I knew about you is that perfectionism, you
Yes.
know, was going to kick in, right? And yeah, it's and I did have to kind of like the mama bird, just push you out of the tree and see if you can fly, right? It's like you can fly, but you gotta have to get out of the tree to fly, right? And so you're like, no, I'm good. I'm here. I'm in the nest. I'm comfortable doing this way. And I was
Mhm.
like, no, you can do this.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I give you all the credit for being willing to do it, right? And I knew that once you started doing it, you were gonna and so you would come with these questions. You say, well, "What about this? Well, how are you doing this?" And I knew you were looking at other shows. Well, this
Mhm.
show has this. Well, how can I do that? And I'd
Yeah.
be like, "Oh," and then I would answer the question. I'm like, "Oh, okay." But I didn't want to dump it all on you.
Mhm.
So I said,
Mhm.
"Okay, try this, see how this works, and then we'll go." And so you got into a rhythm there. Then you'd ask another question. I was like, "Okay." Then I would just give it to you a piece at
Mhm.
a time because there's a lot. There's a lot still that I have to explore
Mhm.
uh, in doing programming.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I got treated the same way. I don't know if I shared that with you.
No.
Like
No.
I started with Black Doctor on I want to say July 27th, 2020.
Mhm.
That was a Monday. That was my first day on the job. First time going to the meeting. Reggie is the CEO of BDO. He says, "Oh yeah, we've got to do a Facebook Live on Wednesday with Dr. Gigi. Um, Ellis, you know how to do interviews. Yeah, you can do that. Let's so first day on the job, and then on day 3, I have to do a Facebook Live by myself
Wow. Wow.
with Dr. Gigi, who has been a fantastic. We do a show together. She's been a fantastic ally,
Yeah.
and we developed a great friendship over the
Mhm.
past 2 years. But it was really and I had never used StreamYard before, so
Mhm.
now not only do I have to do this on air streamed interview with somebody that I'd never met before,
Mhm.
but I've got to learn how to use this program that I'd never used before, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
so it was joke. Could I just go on Facebook Live from Facebook? So I'd
Mhm.
never done any of that, and they were like, "Oh yeah, here's our StreamYard login." So like I'm in a whirlwind of this whole
Mhm.
situation, and I'm researching Dr. Gigi and who is this person, and
Mhm.
and then I'm on air with her. That's the first time I'm meeting her, and then we go live and I do this interview, and it thankfully it was not a disaster. It was not a disaster, and
Mhm.
so we always she and I share that special thing. I was like, you were my very first interview on
Mhm.
BDO, and I don't know how many I've done since then. Since then,
Thousands. Thousands. Yeah.
probably thousands over the. I know we're on track this year to have produced broadcast 2,000 shows.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
I haven't hosted all of them, but
Sure.
but yeah, 2,000 shows is a significant number when you consider there's 365 days in a year. So
Yeah.
that we're averaging more than one show per day
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, on BDO, and that is really a testament to the audience that
Mhm.
we cultivate, and they seem to want more. And we've got some more shows in development. Some new shows are going to be starting here
Mhm.
in the near future. Excited about that. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have your pulse on each one. Maybe you may not be behind the scenes, but your pulse is on each and every one. I wanted to, you're pushing me out of the nest.
Yeah.
Has also allowed me to take risks related to the show. So
Yeah.
someone in a major media company learned about my show. And so I have a broadcast platform, a podcast platform now that was given to me. My nephew, who is incredible with multimedia, I don't know if you've realized, but I've started incorporating art when I read my
Mhm.
poems. And it's been developed by my nephew. He
Right.
developed a program, and I put my um, words, poetry into the program, and it creates an image to reflect the core message of the program. So I'm of the poetry. So I'm getting out there. I'm stepping out there. I didn't know anything about podcasts and definitely not art, but so you started me on this trend. And the other thing that's coming up, I know I'm going into what's, what the next year holds, but the literary community is also embracing me too. So in January, I will be doing a live reading at the Mechanics Institute in San Francisco, which is a institute, a private library that has been there for a very long time. And so I'm stepping out there, Ellis.
See, and that's I love hearing that because one of the challenges of my role is to be an influence but not a hindrance, right? And so, and well, how, what does that mean? That means that I want the host that I'm working with to be the full expression of themselves and not a reflection of what I think, right? Because while I've been doing this for a while and have experience prior to that, and so I want to be a guide, but I want you to be the full expression of who you are. So I try to give just enough advice, but I want you to have that room to grow. And so to see and hear and watch this growth from this program, it's been fantastic because I'm like, okay, we had to cut the cord and we had to, and that was tough. I had to put the clamp on it. I don't know what the doctor, they put the clamp on it. They say, we gotta cut it. But when we did, you were really able to, and not that you weren't flying when I was producing, but now you're really like, we just took we took all the shackles off, and you weren't, you were like, okay, you came up with your ideas and you would try them and you would test them. And if you had a question, you'd come back for a question, but you were really fully exploring instead of just, having me, produce it, and you were coming with your show plans, which were fantastic. But now you're really trying different things, and it's like, how can I make the show better? And you're seeing that because, frankly, my attention is divided, right? Because I've got 30 shows that I have my hand on a regular basis, and then we do sponsored shows and everything like that, and so it really does divide my attention, and so. You really took that ball and ran with it, and I'm so proud of you. I feel like, oh, wow, it's like a success story for BDO and for you, and not even for me, because it's really, we're giving great content to our viewers, and you are, blossoming into a literary giant.
Oh, put it out there. Put it in the universe.
4 books is nothing to sneeze at, right? There's there's a small percentage, and I had a professor tell me this as he was trying to convince me to go and get my PhD in mathematics.
Oh wow!
I was like, and I really liked him, but he was like, there's such a small percentage of people on this planet that has their PhD, and then when you think about the number of Black people that have been awarded a PhD. So he was like, he recognized, he said, you have the ability to go do this. And so if you could do that, think about where that puts you in the pantheon of human history. The same thing with getting published by a publisher, because now you can self-publish, right? Because of the internet and you can self-publish, but you had an actual publisher and had multiple. I remember we discussed that. You had multiple publishers.
I asked your opinion about it.
It was like multiple publishers coming at you, and I had a little bit of knowledge about the publishing industry, and so we talked about that. But really, in the grand scheme of things, we're talking about you being a very small, group of people in the world that started a book project, completed it, published it, and now you've got a publisher saying, oh, we want to work with you on distribution and growing your readership. And now you've got 2-year-olds and 7-year-olds with their grandparents reading their book, and not saying that couldn't happen with self-publishing, but it's harder, right? Because publishers have the distribution, they've got the relationships, and they can get you in places that it would take longer and harder for you to do. And so it's just been, I'm just overwhelmed with pride for you, uh,
Thank you.
and the work that has happened
Mhm.
just this year.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
fantastic.
I just thank you. And I want to share with you. See, I'm sharing more vulnerabilities. The hardest part of doing this on my own has been the graphics, using Canva and developing the ads. And you would think that shouldn't be the hardest part, but I'm an analytical person, and in order to do that, I really have to tap into another side of my brain.
Yeah.
But it's getting better. It's not taking me 4 hours to make one ad anymore.
The challenge for me is because remember, I used to do a new fresh one each week,
Yes.
right? And I
Yeah.
was doing that for like 4 or 5 shows a week.
Yeah.
And that was taking a lot of time. And so
Mm.
my boss was kind of like, Ellis, what are you doing all your time? I said, I got to create these graphics. He was like, man, I'm
Mhm.
not paying you to do. He was like, he realized, he looked at my week and he was like, you're spending 10 hours a week doing graphics, right? Because I
Yeah.
had to pull in the assets and think
Mhm.
about the show and tap into that creativity and then putting it all together and making sure the right font is this and right color. And then have to do that. And then sometimes I'd send it to the host and I'm like, I don't really like it. Can you do something different? You'd be like, oh my God, I gotta go through this process again. Like it's so really, it became, so it was a lot. And so yeah, we're pulling back the curtain a little bit.
Yeah, a whole bunch. And I really want the viewers to understand that, the camera doesn't just go on and this happens. There's a lot going on and we're
Right.
imperfect, right? And there are risks we take and there are certain fears we have, but at the end of the day, it's just all worth it. It's
And now that we're super sharing,
uh,
every show, whether
yeah.
I'm producing or whether I am hosting, I get nervous.
Yes.
I had that nervous anxiety, and I've done, like I said, we've done thousands of these.
Mhm.
And I was in radio prior to, and had been on stages and done all different types of things in
Mhm.
my career. That would be a whole nother show to talk about. So I've had enough experiences to you would think that I would not be nervous, but
Mhm.
I think I lean into it, right?
Yeah.
Because that nervous anxiety energy
Yeah.
makes me work harder to deliver a great product. And if I wasn't nervous, I might be half-hearted
Mhm.
about it.
Mhm.
But I feel every mistake. I cannot go back and watch a show. So people say, "Did you watch the show?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't. I don't watch myself. I don't. I cannot do it.
Really?
Do it." I'll watch like 5 minutes and I'll start critiquing heavily.
Uh-huh.
Like, so I can't do it. So I would love watch. I watch other people's shows and I was like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, I thought the show was fantastic. But
Mhm.
if I am part of the show, like this show, I'm not going to watch it.
We should have a watch party. I watch every single one of my shows immediately after signing off. And I do that for a couple of reasons. I want to respond to the comments as soon
Right,
as I can. And if
right,
I promised resources, I want to post those as soon as I can.
right.
But I learn, I mean, we're our greatest critics, but I learn every time. So, one of the things that I'm really working on, my husband says I'm putting too much emphasis on it, but I see that I say a lot,
Mhm.
to fill the space. And I want to stop saying or so
That's
um
hard.
it's
I've had to work hard on that, and that's I just said it.
yeah,
I
it's
just said it. But yes.
it's a space filler,
Mhm.
and it's not because you don't know what to say. For me, I think it's maybe a little nervousness because yes, and to calm my nervousness, I do heart math
Mhm.
breathing before, during the 30-second countdown. When I learned how to use 30-second countdown, because remember, that's another thing. I said the first show I directed and
You just
produced
went live.
just went time. And I said,
And
oh,
you're looking around. Oh, I was.
no, that was funny. But during the 30-second countdown, I'm breathing. Yeah, yeah. This has been so much fun. I wish we could. I know you have to do other things, but I wish we could do this more often. I'd like to, if we have a little time, I'd like to read one poem.
Sure.
Yeah, and my brother's birthday was on November the 7th.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And this is a poem I wrote about him on the first year of the anniversary of his death. And so I just want to share it in honor of him. And it's titled Michael. It's on page 100 and 101 if you have the physical book. My brother left a year ago. My brother didn't know he would go. My brother was so wise. My brother didn't despise. My brother had strength like a bull. My brother could be a handful. My brother sought love from interesting people. My brother had a heart as big as a steeple. My brother loved me unconditionally. My brother taught me to forgive seamlessly. My brother had less than a high school education. My brother could keep up with any conversation. My brother cooked unforgettable fried chicken. My brother and his jokes had you laughing and kicking. My brother was comfortable in his hood. My brother wouldn't leave his neighborhood. My brother kept family connected. My brother wanted me protected. My brother, I know you are in heaven. My brother, I still think about you 24/7. So that's in honor of my.
That's a great honor for your brother.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we know he's started you on this journey.
Yes.
And look how it's exploded. And so just really, it's a great testament to him and to the relationship that you had.
Yes. And so did you have anything else for me, guest host? If you don't, I whenever you say we're ending, I want to end with a heart breath. So
no, we have shared that.
We've told some secrets.
Janice said, inspired by God.
Oh, we were going to answer some questions.
Absolutely. Well, Janice, and we're going to encourage you. We're going to speak life into you finishing that book. And let us know. Let Dr.
Yes.
Paulina know, because she responds to every message that you send to her. So I would say let her know your website that she can go to, and definitely Janice, we want to stay in contact with you, and so we can give you some encouragement as you finish your book of poetry.
Absolutely, Janice. And no, I remember I was concerned about how it would be received by the world. And don't be concerned about that. It's your work. And I'd be happy to mentor you or give you any support that I can. And good luck to you. Are there any more questions or comments for me, Ellis?
No, not that I see. There's just,
Okay. All right. So I've just placed my website is regalahealing.com. It's an easy place to go to find all the blackdoctor.org shows as well. And my YouTube channel that has different shows, or contact me with a comment or purchase the book. Ebook is on Amazon. And I'm just going to close with um, heart math. I'm going to remove this for right now. And so I'd just like you to lower your gaze or close your eyes. And we're just going to breathe some love and caring, calmness into your heart this today, this morning, this evening, this afternoon. And so I'd like you to take a deep, slow breath through your nose, slowly, and then out through your nose or your mouth. And then I'm going to ask you to, next time you take a breath in, I want you to imagine that your heart is expanding as you breathe in. So breathe in and just visualize your heart in your left chest expanding. And hold. And now breathe out. And your heart is contracting. Let's do it again. Breathe in through your nose and watch your heart expand. And breathe out and watch it contract. And then this last breath, when you breathe in, I want you to think about something that makes you smile, makes your heart warm. So something, someone, a pet, a place, put it in your heart, seal it in there, and then breathe out. And you can do this with your eyes open.
Mm-hmm.
You can do this at any time, any place, and no one has to know you're doing it. And it kind of resets your energy, resets any emotion swirling around. And so I'm going to give it back to you, Ellis, to close.
Well, I want to say just also, I'm going to reiterate thank you to Dr. Van for her dedication to the audience, right? To delivering this message each week, because it's so important. I know we talk about a variety of health and wellness issues at Black Doctor, but we have to make sure that we're connecting the physical with the mental. And the mental drives our physical health so much that having this program to really focus on the mental, to really focus on resetting the spirit, resetting the soul is so vital to improving our overall health and wellness. And so I want to thank Dr. Van for bringing this program to us. We didn't think it. It was brought to us, and we're so happy that she's part of the family. And it's year one, and we expect many, many more years from her until she becomes, superstar, and then she'll probably big time us at that point in time. But we can say, we remember your first spot, and it's gonna be right. You can always come home. So I want to say thank you to Dr. Van publicly. I want to say thank you to everybody that has supported her over this year, the guests, the behind the scenes, her husband for probably putting up with her dedication to this show and everything. Oh, Janice, we'll make sure we're gonna go to your website. But yeah, just thank you to everybody that's been pouring into you on this process. And so I'm just happy to having been a small part of it. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time on the Poetry of Healing with Dr. Paulina Van.
Yes, and I also want to thank the viewers, because it's because of you that this show has been given life and it has grown. And until I see you the next time, I wish you love and light.